Yours.
Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note, any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat box. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit the Small Business Center here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Also, business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you can get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. We encourage all of our attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Commissioner Ken Meyer for us to begin. You're on mute, Ken.
Thank you, Stella. Very much appreciate it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December BACP Empower Hour. I'm Ken Meyer, Commissioner for the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. As Stella mentioned, our goal is to help businesses and consumers get the information they need to succeed by sharing advice and stories from Chicago's successful entrepreneurs. It is the holiday season, and with that comes gift giving. Today's guest has one of the best gifts to bring to a holiday party: wine. Our guest is Greg Fischer, president of Wild Blossom Meadery Winery. Welcome, Greg. Let's learn about your business. Thank you. Let's learn about your business and what our attendees should look for when purchasing wine. So the first thing I want to ask, which we kind of went over with my internal team earlier in the week when we were getting ready for today's webinar. When people hear meadery and winery, the term meadery might be a fairly new word to them. It was for me. That's, and for our listeners and viewers, that's meadery, MEADRY. Can you tell us what happens at a meadery and why did you decide to combine the two?
Yeah, well, a meadery, instead of, a winery raises grapes, well, we raise honeybees instead of grapes. And instead of vineyards, we actually have wildflower fields. So mead was actually the first fermented beverage on earth. It was that first alcoholic beverage. And the reason why you don't see mead in every bar and restaurant, up and down Chicago is that they just haven't tasted our mead yet. But now actually the reason why you don't see mead around is that it was much easier and cheaper to make wine out of grapes and beer out of grain. So it was an easier, cheaper to go to the grape wine, not as good as mead. And mead was always kept as a special, for special occasions. And, or if you had a lot of money, you could drink a lot of mead. But now mead's coming back with the craft beverage revolution like crazy.
Greg, tell us about yourself and how and when you got started with Wild Blossom Meadery and Winery.
Yeah, I basically started, my grandfather came over from Sicily, and he actually used to make wine in the basement. And when I was 6 years old, I was making wine with him and got very interested in the wine business. And at the same time, he also raised honeybees. And I learned how to raise honeybees. And in college, I would actually work for large commercial beekeeping operations, and also different, I had my own little honey business. So when I got out of college, I actually decided to go into the wine business, and I studied wine in New York City and at the World Trade Center, and kind of forgot about mead, really, about honey wine. I really didn't. I tasted it once. It wasn't that big of a drink. But when I moved here to Chicago to actually sell wine for Joseph Seegerman's son, Ray Daniels actually let me taste some of his mead that he made in his basement. And in about 2 seconds, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It was so delicious. I said, I gotta I got to make this. You can't go to every bar and liquor store and buy it. So I got to learn to make it and develop the meadery. And, I didn't have a lot of money to start my mead business. So I was like, well, how am I going to do this? So what I actually started is a beer and wine making supply business called Bev Art or Beverage Art. And I taught a lot of people how to, make their own beer and wine at home. And actually a lot of the breweries here in Chicago and some of the wineries actually started with our classes in the beginning and learn the craft and then develop their own, breweries and wineries.
That's really interesting. You think it's easier to make wine or beverages at home versus maintaining a bee colony or at home?
I mean, winemaking, each of them is a craft. I mean, beekeeping is a craft, and I learned that young. And I actually still raise bees all throughout the city of Chicago. We have bees downtown, right on the top of the Marriott Hotel. We have bees along Chicago's lakefront. We have bees down in Pullman, and we also are the beekeepers for Morton Arboretum. And the one thing I found is the honey here in the Midwest is some of the best honey in the world. It's multifloral. It has all different types of wildflowers in it. And, California, they do a pretty good job with grapes, but they can't compete with our honey. We make some really great honey.
That's really interesting. But you started out east. So is honey different in the east as opposed to the Midwest?
Say that again. I didn't catch that.
I think, didn't you say you originally started out in the east, like in New York? So is the honey like in New York different than the honey in Chicago?
And I worked in Manhattan, and I got transferred here to Chicago. And that's when actually I was introduced to my first mead. And that's what kind of started this whole meadery operation. Looks like we got okay, so we're going.
Greg, for a long time, your business was the first winery in Chicago and also in Chicago. I'm sorry, your first winery in Illinois and also first winery in Chicago.
Yeah.
Your winery is the largest in Chicago, and currently it's the only one located on the south side of Chicago. Can you tell us what was the deciding factors that led you to put a winery on 90th and Hermitage?
Well, the thing is, this area is beautiful. I mean, we're right next to the forest preserve. We have actually a bike trail in our backyard, which once we get snow, it turns into a cross-country ski trail. We have hiking here. We have a really nice area to enjoy wine in. And, part of our meadery and is to actually celebrate nature. And being we're right next to the forest preserve, we have in the morning, sometimes we see deer in our backyard. We see wild pheasants. We have foxes down here. It's amazing. So yes, we're in the city, but we get to enjoy nature every day.
You are making wine on the property. Which wines are your best sellers?
One of our best sellers is our, everybody really likes our bourbon aged wine. It's called Sweet Desire. It's a wine that we actually ferment in bourbon casks. So it gets the flavor of bourbon and this wonderful flavor of honey that we make here locally. And then we also have a new brand we came out, which is called Hive 2.0. It's a lighter, more sparkling mead, a little bit like a champagne. And we just came out with it in cans. And Whole Foods is just picking it up. And a lot of the retailers will be selling it here in Chicago.
That's fantastic. So tell us what wine products you currently are selling or making to sell.
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, the one fun thing about mead and wine, a winery generally will make wine in the fall and that will last them the year. We make wine actually every single day. So we just actually brought our bees down to Florida. So we're still going to be harvesting honey from Florida. And so, every day we're making one of our really nice ones called Hoppy Penelope. It's a hopped pineapple mead, which is really nice. We have an atomic berry, which is a mix of berries and fruit. And then we have right now, which is super popular for the holidays, it's called apple cinnamon. It's an apple cinnamon mead, which actually can be served hot. And on a cold Chicago day, you warm that mead up and that's all you need. It's really nice. And then we have actually a tasting room here so people can come down. And since, they're new to mead, they can get actually a whole flight of meads and taste several different ones. And then if they decide they want to pick up bottles on their way home, they can do that, or they can join our mead club where they can get shipments to their front door every month.
That's awesome. And how many are, just for some folks who may not be familiar with it, how many are in a flight?
We
tasting?
usually go anywhere from 4 to 6. You can
Okay.
order more, but the boards only hold 6, so it's hard to put too many on there.
Good answer. So we're in the middle of the holiday season. What do you recommend people look for when gifting wine?
Yeah, well, you want to know, you want to figure out who you're going to give it to. And if they like dry or sweet wine. And we actually make both. We make a dry Cabernet actually with honey. It's called Southside Cabernet. And that if somebody enjoys it really nice dry red, that'd be perfect. If they like sweet wines, we have everything from a peanut butter and jelly mead, which tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's fantastic. It tastes
wine?
just like,
Wow.
it's a wine. Yeah, it's probably one of our most popular ones. We do everything from a hibiscus mead, a straight traditional mead, meaning just honey, water, and yeast, is got best in show in the state a few years ago, and we got actually a double gold, and the governor of the state congratulated us with that. And the one thing about mead, it's the most sustainable wine on earth. Just to make one bottle, bees will pollinate about 2 million flowers, which produces about 40 million new seeds, or produce that many flowers. So, that's why meaderies are getting so much more popular. When you drink mead, you're really becoming super sustainable and green, and actually adding more life to nature versus, knocking nature down.
That's interesting. It is meadery world renowned. So if you go to other wine parts like Italy, Spain.
Yeah, and meaderies are popping up all over the world and all over the country. When I started our meadery way back actually in 2000, this is when I was just out of a garage. There was about 2 or 3 meaderies in the United States. Now there is over 1,000 meaderies in the United States, and it's the next revolution of the craft beer market. Craft breweries all popped up. You're going to see craft meaderies opening up. And what's nice about meaderies, every area has different flavored honeys. So we can all make the same formula wine, but it's going to taste different in every meadery just because the honey is going to be different.
Yeah. Okay, so this is really fascinating. Now we're going to have to go do an after work tour. Try out some of these flights. But
tours.
So tell everyone listening and watching today, how did you guys break into? So you got the winery, you've got your tasting room, you're selling your product there. How did you break into like the Whole Foods? How did you break into some of the retail?
We do the same thing that Whole Foods like, and we're very green, sustainable. And we just presented our brand to the corporate office, and they took a look at it, and it fits what they do. It fits what they're basically why of Whole Foods being sustainable. What's nice is we're super local or hyper local. We have bees right here in the city, so it really fits well into Whole Foods whole different product lines.
Yeah, expand a little bit on that if you don't mind. How long a process does that take? I mean, it's not like
it's because you have to first go into their have them take a look at it. Then they have to think that it's something good. Then they have to get the approval, and then once you get the approval, it has to go through a lot of different layers they have a portal, and it has to be programmed in, it has to be FDA tested, it has to be tested by the TTB. There's a lot of tests it has to go through also. And once they like it, then they will be able to then they approve it in their store level, and then the store buyers have to decide to put it in.
Yeah, it sounds like perseverance and patience probably.
A ton of perseverance, and anybody, getting into business that's the number one thing you need. You can't just stop. You got to keep going no matter what happens. No matter every time you get knocked down, you got to just keep getting up.
Yeah.
A lot of people will tell you you're crazy. You should just go do something else. And no, if you're a real business owner, you'll get it done.
That's great. Let me just change topics just a little bit here. Let's go over to social media and importance in the business. Social media, as you know, is constantly changing how we market and promote everything, really. We are learning that social media has become a much needed tool for the success of small businesses. Can you just explain some of your social media strategy, and how does your strategy change, or how has it changed over the years, or how has it stayed the same since the day you opened your doors?
Well, the whole wine market, the way wine is sold today has totally changed. I used to work for Seagram way back, where you would just, grab your suitcase and go just store to store to store, but it's not, buyers are busy, and a lot of buyers will find you out on social media. So social media is key to our development, our success in a company. So, we do a lot through Facebook, and SEO. Google search is super important. Anybody in a business, if you want to concentrate on one thing, your SEO is, people have to be able to find you, especially with us. We're down on the south side, 91st Street, in the middle of a forest. Nobody knows where we're at. And, we really need to pay attention to that. And then it's great because we can compete the same as the big Robert Mondavi winery, the Gallo wineries, on the same level playing field by using social media. We can't afford $1 million advertising campaign, but we can definitely do a good Google ad or a Facebook ad, and set up our drip campaigns and just like the big guys.
That's great. That's good to know. Many of our attendees are seeking capital to start or enhance their business. Let's first ask, how were you able to secure the capital to open your business? And then maybe just tell us a little bit of the.
Yeah, I started with no money. I had no money. So I actually started with, first I, it was basically a counter, a little glass counter. And I started, and I just worked everybody says I was an overnight success in about 30 years. So I just, at first just worked my butt off every single day. I mean, a typical day, even today, it's 14, 18, 20 hours. I just saved and saved and saved. And once you save enough, people can kind of see that, hey, this guy knows kind of what he's doing. And then they'll be able to match what you do. If you just go in asking for, hey, I need money, they're not going to pay you. But if they see that you have already have a bit, developed the business and already are growing and have a good track record, you'll be able to get the funding that you'll need.
That's good. And any financial obstacles or hurdles when you first were going into a financial?
Oh, well, there's always more expenses than there is money to pay them. That's basically it. So you have to kind of really keep your eyes on the numbers all the time. Know, where's your money going? Know exactly where every dollar is going to. And, I did work with the SBA. I finally was able to secure the 504, loan, which that was the key in there, because I would not been able to afford this whole operation. But, they looked at my track record and said, hey, this guy's making money, he's successful. And they were able to come in, with the money I needed. So, my advice is, work as hard as you can and then some too. And then know where your money's going, and eventually you will get the funding you'll need.
That's great. Let's talk about other partners. So BACP partners with local economic development organizations, such as our chambers of commerce, to assist small business owners. Have you, or are you currently working with the chamber? And if so, Have you found their assistance beneficial to your business? And maybe just kind of let our listeners and viewers today just kind of learn about the importance of those organizations and kind of how they've helped you out.
Yeah,
along.
the chambers have been very good. They basically, you get a lot of great education for very little money, which is good because you can spend millions of dollars or thousands of dollars on coaches and all this. Well, they all offer it for almost free. I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10K business program. That was for anybody getting in business or in business. That was one of the best programs around. And it didn't, cost time, but time is money, but the same thing, time spent doing the right thing is money also. And that was very good. So, and the chamber is great for networking and a lot of times networking is important, finding the right person who can help you. And, most business owners want to help other business owners, and if they can, they will. So the chamber is a great way to get involved with that.
Well, when you're not busy running your business, what do you do to relax? How do you kind of like let everything go?
Yeah, I'm a fanatic hang glider pilot. I fly hang gliders. I actually used to fly for the Chicago Air and Water Show, and I used to fly around had a couple of flights around the John Hancock building. And but we have a flying site a little bit south of Chicago in Chabance, and we tow them up, and we can spend hours in the air in the hang gliders. And if I wasn't doing it, when I'm not making wine or enjoying wine, I'm out usually hang gliding.
Wow. And do you hang glide 12 months a year?
Yeah, well, in the fall, we bring all our bees down to Florida in the fall, so there's a lot of nice flying sites in the winter down there. Usually, when it gets colder, actually, we don't get the thermals that keep you out of the air because we don't have any mountains over here. So it's a little tough, especially when it's minus 20 out. You want to just stay inside and drink hot mead or something like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the better answers when I've asked that question. I mean, more kind of a little bit different. As this webinar is titled Empower Hour, please share a piece of advice that you can to empower our attendees.
I mean, I think perseverance is very important, and just understand what you're doing and try to prioritizing is probably the biggest thing, is just to always make sure you're trying to work on the most important thing every day. You're not going to get everything done, but at least if you're working on your 3 top priorities, you're gonna get to point A to point B a lot easier. I think also listening to really good motivational speakers. They're really one of my gurus this is going way back. I'm going to age myself, is Earl Nightingale. He has some great advice, and especially when things are great, but when things are tight and you don't have money to pay this bill or pay that bill, and you're juggling and you're working 18 hours, listen to a little of that. Really helps you just get your head in the right focus. And his whole thing was, you become what you think about. So you want to keep your head in a positive realm, thinking about positive things, not all the negative things that can go wrong. And I think the other thing is living in day-type compartments is very important, because as a business owner, there's always, you have no idea how things are going to, you do have an idea with how they're going to go, but you don't. So when you start thinking too much, that's how you lose sleep at night. But if you live in a day-type compartment and think about what's happening right in front of you right now and what you can control, life will be good and you'll have a lot of fun.
That's really a great answer. I appreciate that. Tell our attendees, as we start to wind down, we'll take some questions to see what's in the chat in just a minute or two, but tell our attendees again how they can find you online, where you're located, include your hours. This is yourself.
Actually, if you go to wildblossommeadery.com or wildblossomwines.com, if you just Google Wild Blossom in Chicago, we're going to come up. And actually, you can order online. We have a e-commerce section. We actually sell through a thing called Vino Shipper also, and we can ship all over the country. You can come in for tastings. We're open 7 days a week. We open about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can taste wine, you can buy bottles, or you can join our mead club. And the mead club is nice because you get shipments every month, and then you get free tastings every month also with our mead club.
And for folks, so they can find you online, they can go down to see you in person at the winery, and then any other retailers besides Whole Foods?
Yeah, we sell actually Benny's. You got to go to the mead section. Benny actually has a mead section devoted just to meads, and you'll see our Wild Blossom Meadery. You get a much better selection down here, and we're just off the Rock Island train line, so anybody from downtown can jump on the train in 20 minutes, be to our front door. And we have a lot of fun. We have a really nice bike trail here. Say when it's snowing out, turns into a great cross country ski trail, or just a nice weekend for a hike. We have we still have our outdoor patio. We keep it open all year round.
That's great. Well, if you can stay a little bit longer, I'm going to throw it back to Stella and see if we can take a few questions from the audience. I think there's some stuff in the chat I noticed as well. You got a minute or two?
Sure, I got plenty of time.
Great. Stella, back at you, please.
I have a few comments. They love the hibiscus mead.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations on being picked up by Whole Foods. First
Yes.
question. You host events. Was this always part of your business strategy?
Well, we first started on Western Avenue, and we were just out of a little storefront. We weren't able to do that, but moving to our facility over here on 91st and Hermitage, we had a lot more space, and we were able to host events, and that is that's done really well for us.
Out of curiosity, how did you come up with the logistics to transfer the bees south for the winter? And what did that look like?
Well, I actually used to work for commercial beekeepers, and the bee operations, most beekeepers are in the business of bees, not for honey, it's for pollination, because about 70% of all our fruits and vegetables need honeybees for pollination. And so we would work with other, I would work with big operations. We ran 9,000 colonies. We would put bees on. We put bees on the back of a semi, and then we net them up, and then we take them to, almonds, peaches, apricots. Our bees will stay down in Florida till about early May, and then they'll come up on, we put them up on a trailer or a semi, and then take them up to Michigan to pollinate some blueberries, which they make this wonderful blueberry honey. And then we get to turn that into our wonderful blueberry mead. And it's if you want to see some big trucks, there's called Bee Haulers of America, and you'll see all the big semis full of honeybees.
Next question. How do you identify and differentiate yourself from your competitors on social media?
Well, it's pretty easy right now because we don't have a lot of competitors. I mean, we have other competitors, but they're more or less, I vision other mead companies, not competitors, so that they're more of just friends, really. So, we just want to show them what we do, why we do what we do. And once they see that, I don't really need to convince anybody of anything else.
And I have one more question.
Sure.
It is recommended that white wine is always chilled and red is room temperature. Why is that?
Well, there's tannins in white wine. Sorry about that. There's tannins in white wine in red wine get a little harsh, and you start losing some flavors when you drink red wine cold. Although a lot of people do drink red wine chilled. I mean, really, the temperature of red wine is about 60 degrees. It's the temperature of a wine cellar. So it is compared on a hot day. And I know a lot of people in Napa Valley will throw even an ice cube in some of their red wines since their wines are so big. And, a little bit of chill on a red wine is good. Too much chill, you'll lose a lot of flavor and it will taste harsh. Now, white wines are mostly fruity and that fruit flavor, and some are a little sweet, and the chill makes them a little bit more crisp. But there is, like our mead, we serve our mead a lot of our times we serve our mead chilled, but other times we'll serve it actually hot. And on let's say a cold winter day, a hot mead is wonderful.
One more question just popped up.
Sure.
Do you offer white label service?
White label service. I'm not familiar with that. We do some private labeling if that's what somebody's had, and we work with a couple of restaurants where we'll actually produce their own private label for them. And we've been doing that for several years. We've been working with the Marriott Hotel. We work with a wine bar that just opened up in Vernon Hills called Featherglass. Beautiful place. If everybody can get up there, you have to see their wine bar. And we've worked with a restaurant called A Tavola here in Chicago and made wine for them.
All right, Commissioner, that's all of our questions.
Thank you, Stella. I appreciate that. Well, thank you, Greg
Okay.
Fischer.
I really,
You froze.
oh, great.
Okay. No, you're back. You're back. I just want to thank you, Greg Fischer, president of Wild Blossom Meadery and Winery. And again, they're located at 90th and Hermitage right here in Chicago. I just want to thank you again for joining us. I've learned so much, and I appreciate that. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners to watch this webinar again, or to share with colleagues, friends, family who want to learn more about wine and meadery. You can visit us at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. And to learn about our next Empower Hour, which will be in January 2023, and our business education webinars, visit chicago.gov/business education. Have a great day, everyone. Happy holidays and happy shopping. Thanks again.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.